Welcome to Small Steps. My name's Seth Potts and I want to show you tips and tricks on printing in Excel. So the data I have here is actually shrunken down a little from what the raw data was, but we do get data in this way. There's 500 rows here and 9 columns. And like I said, it is actually shrunken down. Records management systems a lot of times spit out a lot of information, and you don't always want all of it. Um, and when you do get something like this and you're trying to figure out a way to print part of it, or even if you're trying to print all it, try to find the best way of getting that printed where it looks neat on a page, where everything fits properly. We're going to go through a couple things to help with issues like that. So, the first thing that I always do if I'm looking at something like this and figure out how it's going to look when it prints would be a print preview. You can always go up to File and go to Print and go that way. But if you're on this page already and you just want to see, there's a couple buttons down here that can help you do that. These down here is page layout and page break preview. What these look like, I'll show you here. So here is that first button, the page layout. It looks pretty much like a print preview. So we could see automatically a few things with this data. All the columns don't fit onto one page. So they're not gonna, it's gonna be a lot of information, kind of extra pages for everything. You see down here, there's 22 pages for this information. We're gonna see what we can do to minimize that. You start scrolling down, you also notice that those headers are only on that front page. We'll look at ways to fix that issue as well. So the other button here, just to see what it looks like, page break preview. It's kind of shrunken down a little, but you can see with your sheets, kind of the dotted lines, everything, where the page is in. It's kind of got that watermark in the background for the page number as well. Then you can just click back to this normal view here to get back to how it looks. And sometimes after you do that, click one of those previews or even click the print preview, you'll see some gray dotted lines going down that kind of keeps those page breaks on there. I have mine turned off in my options in Excel, but if yours pop up that way, that's all it is. It's just showing the page breaks, so those won't print off. It's really showing you where the breaks are. So let's look at this here. Let's go to print preview and we'll look at a couple things. So like I say, you see the 22 pages, and that when you start scrolling, the header's not on there. They don't fit well. So one thing I like to do sometimes is look at the orientation. If we think that maybe all columns will fit, you can always change the orientation to see, well, more fit on there, but not all of them, and that's actually increased our pages to 30 pages, so that's not what we want exactly. The other options is scaling down here. Now, if you had something that was just on the 2 pages maybe, and you want to see if you could shrink it down to 1, you could just fit sheet on 1 page, and it'll shrink it down to fit on that 1 page. And this, with 500 rows, you click that, it makes it like very, very small, not usable, and it doesn't actually can't even get it onto 1 page. So for something this large, you wouldn't use that. But if you have something just over a page, that would work well actually. Now the one I use, and I don't know that I've actually ever used fit all rows onto 1 page. I don't know, depending on what your data is, you could use that. I typically wind up having more columns, so try to fit all columns onto 1 page. Now, this 7 pages is not bad. It's pretty small print, and mine's aren't that good probably. And if you're printing this out for somebody else, that's one of the worst things, is handing somebody a piece of paper that's just shrunk down too small that they can't read it. So we can kind of mix and match those things. So all columns on 1 page is pretty good. See if we can get where the text is a little larger, and if you don't mind the pages being in a different orientation, you can mix and match and fit all those columns on 1 page. But let's change it to landscape, and there you go. So it's 12 pages, so that's a lot better than 22, and all the columns fit on there. The text is shrunken down a little, but not small enough that you can't read what it says. So that would be one solution for getting this entire sheet, all the columns on the pages in a actually fairly reasonable printable view here. So the other thing we're going to get into, so I'll change this back here to the no scaling and kind of the original settings we had for it. And we're going to go back. I want to show you how to fix the header issue here. We're going to go back here, and if you go up to the page layout, there's this page setup grouping. It has a couple options for printing, page breaks, things like that. we're going to look at this print tiles. Now what all I need to do if I want to keep those that header up there on every page that prints, I can just click on that and select that whole row. If you have titles on more than one row, say the first two rows, you can select both rows and those two rows will be on the top of every page as well. So whatever your title looks like, you can select that and select OK. There's other options here. You could do columns as well. You could select the top row and the far left column, whatever fits your needs for that. So you could do that here and click OK. Let's see, we'll go back over here to that print preview, and you see when I start scrolling down, that header is on the top every time. So that has fixed that problem. One other thing that I was going to go over here is, what if you don't want all this information? Let's say this is just what the system spit out, but you have very select information that you actually want to print. We'll take that here. You just click and highlight what it is. So let's just say I want that the date, the speed, if it's a DUI, hit and run, and the reporting severity. Just these first few columns. And let's say I just want the January date. So I'm wanting just this information. You can highlight it here. Go back to print. And in this preview pane here, you go to this top option here, print active sheets. And a couple options here. It defaults to this, printing just your active sheet. So everything that's on there, print the entire workbook. If you have multiple tabs and multiple pages of information, you can actually have it where it'll print all of those at once, so you don't have to print each tab separately. And this one that we're looking at here is going to be this print selection. So this will take what we just highlighted, and that is all it's printing, page 1 of 1. Another thing to note here, so especially when you have something like this, sometimes depending on how you look at it, you might say it's not formatted well. You'd rather have this centered on the page. That is fairly easy to do. In the bottom right here, you can see you click on that first one, it shows the margins. Now you can, this is an easy view to go ahead and kind of center it up the best you can here. And you can go ahead and do that and click that back off. You see now it looks like it's printed more centered here. So from taking all that bulky information, breaking it down to exactly what you want, even on this page, centering it up. Those can be done fairly quickly, especially the more you practice, the more you use it. You can dig through information like this and print exactly what you want fairly quickly, whether it's for yourself or to hand to somebody else. If you found this tutorial helpful and would like to see more, click like and subscribe. The next video coming up is going to be over the unique function.